Okay, we're back to Rabbi Leiter.
Okay, now, so segueing from that into some current events, I wanted to start dealing with an issue with regard to our recently elected Republican congressman here in Rockland County, Michael Lawler, who voted against the Parents' Bill of Rights, H.R. 5, recently in Congress. I'm not going to get into that particular legislation at the moment yet, though hopefully we'll do that in a program soon. But I wanted to address something that's a hypocrisy when some upstanding activists that I know personally had sent out an email critiquing Mike Lawler voting against this bill, ostensibly because of some pro-transgender inclinations that he has. And let me emphasize that when he was in the Assembly for 2 years representing Rockland County, part of Rockland County, he voted for about 12 LGBT bills in his short tenure there. And he is listed as, he at least until very recently had been listed as a log cabin Republican. And among the bills he voted for is one we're going to get to shortly. But in addition to that, he also voted for what's called by a different name, it's really an LGBT task force to advise regulators across the board in New York State government on LGBT issues, which would be composed of 11 activists and so-called experts. And that would include, of course, advising the New York State Department of Education. And we know, in the context of the educational equivalency requirements, we know what that means. And he voted for this not that long ago, after the concern and objections over the educational equivalency regulations were in high gear, he voted for this nevertheless. So this is what we have from the Republican Party here in Rockland County. But let me get to the
Wait, Rabbi Leiter, you're going to mention the fact that he recently voted for some sort of a pro-yeshiva bill or something that people should have the right to have their religious education, et cetera, et cetera. Are you aware of this? What he does is he plays...
I'm not aware. I know that he was involved in promising something like that, and I'm going to have to look into that because...
He voted like that, but we want to make it clear that means nothing to us if he's voting for the schmutz. He can't play this game. He's going to go one for you, and get us stupids to appreciate him and support him. He's he's a Russia, and he has no problem fighting us on, ignoring us, even when we approach him directly on things having to do with trans and Mishkav Zocher.
Right, and I know he had talked about this, and I have to see what he actually did, because this is what exactly we were afraid of, that he would try to buy off some people by paying some lip service, maybe even on some legitimate issues, but ignoring the and actually advancing the greatest and gravest threats to us as a whole and to our education in particular, and us meaning everybody, not just Jews and even not just Orthodox Jews, but the community as a whole. Now, let me just read a little bit from the exchange that just transpired in the past day or so. So he addressed a particular activist, Mike Lawler does, that is, and he says, rather than sending out some email without understanding all the information, feel free to give a call and ask. That's how he responded to one of the activists. So I responded to him as follows, without even getting into the substance. If I just may read my letter, I think all these points are important for the record. Representative Lawler, you may recall a previous occasion on which a group of concerned citizens, including Ed, actually one of the activists involved, and myself, did in fact reach out to you to explain your vote, along with that of a horde of anti-gender Democrats in the New York State Assembly for A 3355 to stop enforcement of New York's anti-prostitution law. On the floor of the Assembly, you had previously sought to justify your vote by invoking the head of the local Rockland LGBT Pride Center, citing their pro-BGTL cop-bashing propaganda about transgender members of said profession being discriminated against. This defamatory accusation of law enforcement was supposed to convince us of the need to stop enforcement of the important statute against said illicit activities, meaning prostitution, despite the elevated danger to trafficked women and children posed by the de-enforcement bill for which you voted. Subsequently, you failed to appear at that meeting that we had requested to discuss your actions. Instead, you had your Chief of Staff, Nathaniel Saul, fill in for you. Furthermore, at that meeting held in mid-March 2021, Mr. Soul stated that he did not want to even discuss your vote for A 3355 altogether, although that was the very purpose for which we requested the meeting. Instead, he offered to discuss looking for common ground issues in the future. So in other words, basically what I'm saying here is that Mr. Lawler is getting animated about somebody sending out an email instead of calling him. Well, when we actually made a meeting of various community leaders, which was, including both Jewish and non-Jewish leaders, he was a no-show, and even his chief of staff, Dylan, refused to actually discuss the issue. So he really can't, doesn't stand on very solid ground in complaining that, people aren't reaching out to him properly, in his view. But it doesn't stop there. Additionally, I'm continuing the letter, the email that was sent out this morning. Additionally, when I met with you prior to the general election for your assembly seat, after you made it clear that you are pro-LGBT, meaning pro-sodomy, you related to us that you really didn't understand what this transgender business is all about. Well, it seems that you experienced an accelerated, quote-unquote, learning curve, where the quotes are on the word learning, inasmuch as shortly thereafter you were grandstanding on the assembly floor preferring transgender propaganda to vindicate ending enforcement of the said anti-prostitution law. Now, you complained about a senior morality activist and upstanding citizen sending out an email ostensibly without understanding all the relevant information. However, you evidently harbor no objections to throwing cops under the transgender bus and voting for A 3355, the enforcement legislation, despite not getting all the relevant facts straight. You certainly didn't reach out to us to attain a proper understanding of the relevant information prior to your vote, nor did your aforementioned assembly speech or vote indicate that you obtained a proper understanding of the relevant information from anyone else. The relevant facts include these. Transgender is a lie, period. A man cannot become a woman, nor can a woman become a man. Self-misidentification, hormonal abuse, and surgical mutilation cannot alter what sex you are, period. Thus, any legislation that makes believe one can change their sex is the embodiment of a sick and deadly lie. And I suspect that you know all of this about as well as we do. And I end it there. So I just think that it's important to bring this out for the record.